It's the foundation to empower women through social entrepreneurship and economic empowerment. Then that woman was assisted to start a small business so that she can feed herself and her children. And now it's another story. She has a charcoal successful business. She has been able to educate the children. She has been able to empower herself. And since that one was a successful business, it helped us to empower many other women and young ladies in dire needs. Today, the foundation has 126 young ladies adopted, empowered, and it's just a beginning. We wish to do more.
That actually,
we are not limited only to Burundi. We have members in Cameroon, some others in Kenya, and now in South Africa, we have chosen to adopt 5 ladies. They will be empowered through the foundation. We will follow them so that after having the skills they need to be confident, to be themselves, to stand for themselves, we can give them away, open the opportunities so that they can go far. Thank you so much.
thank you. That's actually, sorry, if I could just...
Sorry about that. I just, before Charmaine continues, I would like to urge you all to scribe questions for the panelists, because now we're going to go into the interactive session. So if you've got that burning question, and I mean, we're all women here, let's not be shy. Let's have a conversation that will add value to all of us.
Okay, thank you. Just to add to the point that Dr. Florence just made, women just need to start, and women, our minds can help us achieve anything. They say if you educate a woman, you educate a nation, and I'm not talking literally education, but the ability, give them the little resources and we'll go a long way. And that's happened in numerous occasions. So we have the ability to empower ourselves and other people, and don't believe you don't have the power to make a difference and change your lives. Because if you don't do it, nobody's going to do it for. But we're going to commit to help each other drive that difference and change that we need to, right? Francesca, are we taking questions, or are you going to talk more about the economic impact? Because you're going to do the presentation first. Okay, so she's going to share more about the actual economic impact. Write your questions down and we'll start talking because we need to.
Thank you, Charmaine. Change the slides. I'm far-sighted, so I don't see the up and down. Okay. I'm going to talk to you about WIIN. That is why we are here today, the Women Integral Impact Network. You know, when you come with a certain political background, you talk about integrated a lot. So you can go to the first slide, please. Okay. Our mission, our mandate, that should say, imagine. The greatest achievement for South African society lays in empowering, collaborating, and enriching the lives of South African women. Who we are the national outreach of the national champion, an NPO of professional volunteers working towards the empowerment of women to overcome the challenges of GBV. What is gender-based violence? Gender-based violence manifests in many, many forms. Gender-based violence manifests in domestic violence, particularly in South Africa. And in domestic situations, it can manifest in the victimization of a sister to a sister, a mother to a child, a father to the mother, siblings. It can be an aunt, an uncle. It takes on so many forms. I meet daily so many women who were had ancestral contact with family members. Sometimes the mother knew, sometimes she didn't. So that is the domestic setting, when there is a domestic relationship. Today we're even looking at religious infringement as a domestic relationship, because you were taken to a church by your parents. You normally end up with a church as a young child in a family context. There is a sort of a domestic relationship. Gender-based violence, of course, also includes your random rape and assault, workplace manipulation, judicial ignorance. Judicial ignorance, we need to talk about this a little bit more. Through all the dialogues that we've been doing, what you encounter is that you have a judicial figure, a judge, a magistrate, that is being manipulated and abused at home. Now, this is part of the costs of gender-based violence. If I'm at home and I am being victimized by my husband and I'm a magistrate, am I going to serve the woman that is going to be in front of me well tomorrow? No. So if I'm the clerk of the court, the maintenance officer, whoever I am, but I'm victimized, I'm not well within me, I don't own my body, like Saida says, I'm not present in myself. There is disassociation. I'm not going to be able to have compassion for that person in front of me. And that is part of where the judicial ignorance and public system abuse comes in. I don't know if you guys remember the video that was on Twitter about the Home Affairs official who was standing and she was half talking to it and she was on her phone here and very rude to the customer. I'm sorry, that's abuse. That's abuse of us, the public, the taxpayers. She gets paid with our tax money. That's abuse. It's a negative reflection on who we are, a disrespect. That's abuse. Customary infringement. You know, we all belong to certain ethnic groupings. Doesn't matter who you are. And in all our groupings, there's certain customs and certain assumptions. The day you are born and you are identified as a female baby, there's already a whole societal expectation of what you can and cannot do. I'm sorry, that is infringement, that is abuse. It starts when we are born. Then we look at how it manifests. It manifests as financial abuse. It manifests as physical abuse, emotional abuse, psychological abuse, mental abuse, sexual liberties. If you don't feel like sex, your husband has no right to force him on you. I'm sorry, that's domestic rape. And of course, incestual relationships, it's really staggering in South Africa. Thank you so much. Now, to look at this, we are now getting to the direct costs of gender-based violence. On the left, we have three aspects of economic growth states. That means what is a normal growth state in a national economy. The top one is the ideal state. There's continual growth, the economic trajectory is upwards, and we're all working towards Vision 2030. The effects of gender-based violence on the right, on that vision, is loss of earning, loss of revenue, loss in tax revenue, diverted resources, the medical care that needs to be taken, the law enforcement, all that diversion. When medical staff are treating women that are abused and beat up, they end up in hospital not because they were sick, but because somebody couldn't control themselves. That is a drain on resource. Hospitals are made for sick people. They were never intended when hospitals initiated eons ago for treating women who are being abused at home or children. It is an extra liability on our budgets and really causes a negative aspect on our economic growth state. Then there's the economy in growth state. In other words, we are on the rise. When somebody gets killed or abused, there's productivity that's lost. Growth periods aren't maximized. It takes us to a depressed state where we get a lot of unemployment, economic stresses. HIV/AIDS is also one that can come in there. And the cost of the GBV increase. The more it increases, the more liabilities there are on budgets, in departments, and in our centers. We need to have more police. Policemen that is now supposed to fight crime is now diverted to the crime of domestic violence or gender-based violence, something that is not natural. Do we all agree that gender-based violence is not intended in a creation and it's not natural? I've never seen a male sheep, a ram goes and ram into the ewe. I've never seen it. It's not natural. It is an unnatural form of behavior. So we need to start thinking, what is it that is bringing this about in our society? And we must remember, we are mothers. That boy that is beating up that girl today was somebody's son. It is a cycle that needs to actually be broken. We need to start somewhere. Okay, on the left we have cost factors. In the middle we've got cost to families. When somebody gets killed or abused in a relationship at home, if she's alive, there will be medical costs. If she's dead, there's funeral, the pain and suffering, the emotional imbalance, the performance of people in the family. If I die, my children will not be able to perform at their peak. Are we agreed? Okay. So we are now looking at, and I'm going to, at the generational cost on the left. I die because of violence. My children are traumatized. They're growing up, even if they get assistance, many people never overcome it. And it's not because we don't want to, it's because we are human. And because there's not enough awareness out there in the world. So now it becomes generational. It was me, now it's my children. They grow up in adults, they are not the quality of adults they should be, and they pass it again on to the children. So that is, it's also, and we must lose the stigmatization of speaking about these things. It is so crucial for us to get real. When they asked me to be the national champion, you know, I was reluctant. I didn't feel so well about it for a year or two. But why? Because I was broken. as I started to glue myself together, and the question came again, I said yes. And you know what is the most wonderful thing about it? The more I started helping other women heal, the faster I healed. Then the national cost of GBV, the loss of production in the workplace. I die. I promise you, every woman in this panel is going to be affected by my death. They are going to be traumatized because we love each other. And every woman in my life is going to feel it because I love women. Yes, I see a lot of you here. Thank you for coming. So they are going to go to their workplace, and they're not going to. You just don't feel the same. On Sunday, I had a call from Alex. A guy shot his girlfriend, then shot the sister in front of her children, and then ran away. When you get a call like that, you don't feel well, and I don't even know this family. And then you have to strap up your boots, and you've got to say, if I have to be of any help to these people, I can't make this about, personalize this. I need to go and get in there and get sorted. Okay? So loss of expertise. 1,300 professional women die in this country. We are the trailblazers. We need to be inspiration for the next generation so that they can think they may too, and dare and dream and can. But if they kill our professional women, they set us back. They set a national economy back. Because what we looked at for a professional woman, so that you can understand the figures, is if you get killed by 30, we took the variables and the accumulation of what you could have achieved by 40 and by 50, and the impact you could have had on so much, and we equated that back to a financial value. Okay, so that is where these figures come from. You can move on. Oh, there was one last point, the loss of future children. Children for a country is important because a country needs a future workforce. So if a woman dies before she's had children, the potential children she would have had that would have contributed to the economy are gone. That is where that comes from. Here's the staggering truth. On recent reports found on 2 out of 10, they used an average of 2 out of 10 international people that determined that the national cost of GBV, if 2 out of 10 women in South Africa face GBV, remember that, is 28 billion rand annually. 28 billion is equal to 500,000 RDP houses, or 8 years of child grant support, or 200,000 primary school teachers, or NHI for 25 million South African citizens, or 900,000 students' fees. And it will eliminate and it will empower increased job opportunities for unemployed youth if we can bring 28 billion back into our economy, spent on GBV-related matters. However, the bottom line is really important. Our field studies, Sandra, can you just sit back a little bit? Thank you. Our field studies, WIIN, what we've done in villages, communities, indicates that 8 out of 10 women experience GBV in one form or another in South Africa. So if you take 8, please go back. If 2 equates 28 billion, what is the real cost of having 8 out of 10 women affected by GBV? Where do you think our national economy can go? What infrastructure we can create, schools, hospitals, if we had the additional cost spent on GBV through extra services that are not naturally required if people behave respectable, if people respect each other's human rights. What can we achieve with that? Why do we need to be concerned? Yes, the global impact of GBV is significant. It's not only in South Africa, but we should be very concerned. We top the world by far. It is a breach of our human rights. And it is therefore a direct breach of the constitution of our country. The specific impacts may include, there's many more, I just included some of the most important ones. Violence on women's lives is the highest contributor to disease. Significant links between GBV and reproductive and sexual health problems are established and proven. Significant association with actual HIV risk. India has set a link between GBV and malnutrition. Children witnessing or experiencing violence have a lower educational retention. It's got nothing to do with the fact that they're not intelligent. It's got to do with the fact if you show up with work with a heavy heart, you are unproductive in your day. The same with a child. If a child experiences stresses like this at home, you cannot expect him to go to school and have the ability for optimal learning. Then victims of violence exhibit risk behaviors like substance abuse, alcoholism, and suicide. And then last, GBV perpetuates and reinforces gender inequality. One of the things that we have been really trying to eliminate in this country.
It's conclusion and response. It's why WIIN.
Now, you're here today, and we're going to tell you why every woman in South Africa should join WIIN. Not only because it's the national outreach that has been initiated from a national department deciding to appoint a champion, but because we created the WIIN Safety app. You can download it for free. It is currently available on all Android. We are still busy with iPhone. It provides an online and offline connection for all women. Go into our website, www.winwomen.com. It's actually a very, very interesting website, and I think you will all be quite surprised. We also have gained international support for our impact projects, because when we go into villages, we really do impact. We train women. You can read all about it on the internet. I want us to get to the question and answering session, so I'm not going to speak too much about all the training we do, but you can please go and look at it. Trainings pertain to personal wellness as well as vocational. We focus on the economic empowerment of WIIN. We focus also on further SMME development and mentorship. We are involved in planning now, and next year we will create 2 foundational education facilities. And we will train 780 WIIN trainers to create a national network of empowered women. We have trained women. Next year we have set aside to train another 120. The most wonderful thing, now please if you can go back. The most wonderful thing, if you go into the app and you tap on the emergency, not only are you directed immediately to the service to which your emergency pertains, but your location is also identified. So it is a must. I have it on my phone, it's on my front screen. If you have that app, if you have a break-in at your house, you can use it. If you drive and your car breaks down, the emergency numbers are on there. If you are in an area where you feel where there's hijacking, you can use it. It is an app by women for women. Okay? Thank you. And last but not least, we have our training t-shirts which don't look anything like that. It's very big, it's very activism. And then we have just launched our Profit for Purpose line. You can please go to our website, winwomen.com, and you can go to our, Kirsten, what is it called? Is it called store? And please have a look at it, because buying our t-shirts, when you order the t-shirt, the small WIIN logo will be on the one arm. If you are a corporate or a business and you want your logo on the other arm, you can ask us to do so with your order. These t-shirts are called Profit for Purpose with a reason, because the purpose behind them is to raise funds for the training of other women. So every corporate, every business that invests in these t-shirts for their staff, for Valentine, for whatever your occasion, we will bring out more designs. And just know that this is our way to empower more women. And I just want to ask you to please acknowledge my beautiful daughter, Rani, for designing our t-shirts. And that is my story today, last page. That's me, Francesca Fonse, and where is my beautiful Basa? busy organizing. There she is. You all know her. I think most of you have spoken to her in the last days. Please, you want to talk to us, you want to engage with us, you want to support us, you want to become online, you want to offer your services for empowering women, you want to volunteer, contact us. I thank you very much.
You know, before we open the floor at large, I am an unapologetic workaholic. And as Francesca was going through the slide, there were certain slides that hit a nerve. And I had a pivotal moment with my mentor early this year, and especially when she said, "Are you affected by GBV?" And Usisi mentioned how things were back in the day with the violence and everything. And the frustrating thing was that the person I am today is based on GBV. I say this because my mother was physically abused. And because she was physically abused, I was raised in a single-parent home. It's okay. And I was raised by a single mother who came from a disadvantaged home, who made it a point that her kids will have everything that they need.
And we did, single as she was. And the reason why I'm sharing this is because we all have reasons that have an impact on why we do things the way we do them. I'm young, I'm black, I'm in business. And the reason, one of the most reasons I went to study, I did business administration and events management. And I told myself that one day I'm going to be a woman in business. And one of the reasons why I did that is because I don't want to depend on a man. I was raised by a strong woman who unfortunately had children with an irresponsible man. And so today, for me, it's difficult to get into a relationship. And not only is it difficult because of that, but unfortunately, we live in a life where men are intimidated by ambitious women. And it's not our problem. And I was having this conversation with a friend of mine, and I was telling her, yes, there's a car that I had identified. And then I said to her, yes, maybe I should have one that is just maybe a below. And she asked me why, and I was saying to her that I don't want to intimidate a man. And she asked me, but why are you making it about him? And as women, we idolize men. We look at marriage as the pivotal. It's not. And I thought I should just share this. And it's okay not to get married. I used to be a wedding planner. I used to be a wedding planner, and it got to a point where the pressure's getting there. And most of my friends, they have kids, they married. I don't have a child, I'm not married, but it's okay. I don't know my sister's reasoning, but she's much older than me. She doesn't have a child and she's not married, but it's still okay. We're not their toys. And especially in boardrooms, ladies, we need to stop fighting each other. As soon as you make a stand or you voice out, another woman is going to look at you funny, but she agrees with you. But because of that CEO or that MD or whatever the case may be, to hell with them. And they need to stop. Gents, please take note and tell your counterparts. They need to stop making these petty comments. Like, for instance, why don't you have a weave? Is it your business? It's not. It's all here. So ladies, please, let's make this afternoon an impactful one. Let's not be shy. I really don't care what you guys think. I really don't care. Because it's my life. And I'm owning it.
I think your story was quite powerful. No, I think it is powerful, and thank you for sharing. But what we must be cautious not to do is create a divide, because we need to work collectively to find a solution. And men are not enemies. We cannot put them in a box to say it's because of them we are this. Sometimes our experiences help us be better versions of ourselves. We have sons, we have brothers. So that's what I caution against. We need to find a solution that's going to empower women. Yes, we are not at the same level when it comes to boardrooms and other aspects, but the reality is as soon as you take your power back and understand yourself, you will reach enormous heights. But you need to do it, and we need to help each other and find the solutions. Francesca, I just need to ask you a question, though. Why is it that you differentiate between professional women and normal women? I understand the economic impact that they have, but I find that a little bit distasteful, because life matters irrespective as to how educated you are or not.
Thank you, Charmaine. Really, it is only in terms of the discussion of today, which is the economic cost of gender-based violence. And because we are a country where, because of historical and political regimes that crippled this country, women were suppressed. And we are kind of way down behind other countries in terms of the growth and the development of our professional corps that are female. So for us to lose 1,300 professional females a year, it's really devastating.
No, thank you for that. And I mean, I know of some amazing men that are driving advancement for women. I mean, I have Munya Devaro, yeah, who has done lobbying of legislation to get 40% of women on boards. So men are trying to help empower women. Don't leave them out of the system. That's my call to you. Absolutely. So
I just want to come in there, and I want to say, as WIIN, we work very closely with organizations like Not In My Name, Dads in the Picture. We have regular events that they are actually with us, and they share the event. So, you know, we even have men that are WIIN members. You can go online and you can fill in the membership, and you can become a WIIN member. I have 2 male chieftains in the Eastern Cape that are WIIN members.
do they get the app as well?
They can get the app as well. The only requisite is, look, WIIN is not there. It's never been the intention, and that's what I said, you know, to the UN in 2016. We need to find ways to dialogue, because you cannot empower women and not empower men to deal with empowered women. So we really need to be inclusive. Our only requisite is that they ascribe to our mission. And the mission is the empowerment of women. So if men wants to join WIIN because they are pro the empowerment of women, I welcome them any day.
Fantastic. Thank you. Are we opening it up? Because I think it's important, and that's why you're here. So, Sandila, who wants to? Are you going to pass the mic? Thank you.
Thank you. Is this question number 1? Do I have to stand?
Okay, let's, I think, start by welcoming the presentation and also your verbal inputs. It's very empowering and also very painful, I must say. It drives the point home, and it brings a lot of pain forward. Maybe that's what we need, so that we deal with the pain. And also your approach, ma'am, from Canada, the limbic resonance. I think it's also very, very important, because if you're not with you, then where are you and who are you with? And what can you do and what can you be? So, but my question, it's not a question actually, it's a comment. It's directed at you, Francesca, because you are from the Department of Justice, I believe. There's secondary abuse that women are always, and it's by the Department of Justice, are subjected to, and it's after divorce. You spoke about a woman who made a choice to get out of an abusive marriage because they have options. They're okay, they get out. Then that woman has to wait for 4 to 5 years for a judgment on a divorce. In that 4 or 5 years, the economic impact on the woman and the children and the family that she supports is impacted upon. All of the things that you said they are happening. So my suggestion, it's not a question. I want to suggest that something needs to be done by that. It has a very serious impact. In the work that I do right now, thanks to the ladies that are here, I will always respect you. These women fight for women they become mad. You should see them fighting for women's rights. You'll be very scared of them. But yes, we do. But I was exposed to the impact of judgments that don't come through me. For women who want to get into business, women who have fantastic ideas, who have the energy, who have the drive, who have everything, but they cannot move because they have to wait for a judgment to come through. Their lives are impacted. They can't even transact with a bank. And they have all the abilities except the fact that a judge somewhere is busy with something else, and they will make a decision when they are ready. 5 years for a judgment? A 3-pager? I don't think it's right. So, and I think it's our battle as women because it impacts on us. And I think it's something that we need to do to make sure that it's addressed. Secondly, it's about networking and partnerships. Again, I have to make partnerships to empower women where I am. And fortunately, it's one of my deliverables. Yes, I will come and consult. I will come and consult. But it is one of my deliverables. So yes, everywhere where women are involved in empowering women, I have no choice. I have to work with women, but that's fine. Your contact, I'll use the contacts, and then we'll get into and all of you ladies, because empowerment is not only in business; it's where you started. And the last thing is, please do something about. We're on Apple. You can't leave us out. We need the app. We do. Thank you.
I will. We are currently busy with the app for Apple, the iStores, and to comment about your comments with regards to the judicial system. I'm most acutely aware of it. My divorce went through in 2016, and I'm still owed ever since. Never seen R1. Yesterday, I accompanied a woman into a judge's chambers that's been trying to get divorced for 8 years. There's an incredible need for the judiciary to transform. And I am here as WIIN, so I'm not going to go political on that. We know that we have asked in our political circles for the judicial transform for many, many years. As the national champion, I want to see judicial transform. It is a judicial system that functions with the old values of our previous dispensation that locked women out, and the few that they allow in and through now cannot make the sufficient change. So it is a tiered level, and within departments you've got various directorates. It's not going to be fast, but there are women and there are men in those departments working daily to change it. I hope that we will get it done soon. Bureaucracy, unfortunately, always takes long, and that is where we need to find politically more will and more voice and say enough is enough. Okay.
I'm Sandra Modley. Thank you for inviting me. I'm part of when we started WIIN together. We worked with the Department of Justice from 2016, going around to all the different provinces, sharing our testimony to make the judicial system change. Yes, they are busy with it, but it's taking them forever. But we all here as a community, we need to stand together and work together. Whether you're a woman, whether you're a man, we need you. Bottom line, we need young girls, we need boys. Because I am a mother of 2 boys who today are men, 32 and 27. I'm just going to say a little thing. They were in drugs. I was a single mom. I'm still a single mom, but I say I was because God made me who I am today. My sons did not have to go to rehab. It was all about my mind change. Thank you so much, Canadian. The Bible says, renew your mind in Him all the time. I'm sorry I'm using the scripture, but I have to. And if you listen to everything that was said today, it's about you. It's about me. It's about our mind. And if we start changing our mind as boys and girls, female and men, we can change the whole of South Africa and the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much. My name is Nomfundo. I've got a question for the panel. What are you saying about the women in the rural areas who don't even have an app, who don't have any form of communication, but this woman is going through difficulties and she needs help? Yes, there's women who've got phones, who can have apps and everything, but there's this woman, she wants to talk, but there is so much limited resources, she cannot reach anywhere.
Nomfundo, I would like to answer that, if I may. You can't see me, so I will stand. We are traveling throughout the country. I'm not going to reach every village in 1 year. Been to Eastern Cape, been to Northern Cape, been to Limpopo, Northwest, Gauteng. I've been in villages that most of the people growing up in townships can't imagine. I was healthy there, I got sick there, got diarrhea, and got myself better again. So I'm absolutely aware, as the national champion of women, of the plight of women in this country. I was in Zululand and I met with 2 social workers, and we went to a school, and the children were grey with hunger. So we do these small impact projects, but WIIN is only as empowered as we have the assistance and the donations and the volunteering. I am actually in my professional capacity an impact project specialist. So the reason why I'm a member of WIIN Global Compact is we started working with the SDGs way, way back before WIIN even defined them. And it's all about sustainability. So yes, there are programs coming, and yes, there are small projects. There's one in KwaZulu, there's one in Mpumalanga. And if I can add 1 per year and they can escalate, then I will one day die a very happy person. But we are absolutely, acutely aware. We are aware of the gogos that look after 4 or 5 kids. We are aware of all those things. And we need to love and embrace this country, and especially our women. Just an interesting stat, why our gogos left with kids is because our girls get pregnant. Now, if we look at the South African registry of new births, from 2016 onwards, our registrations reflecting no father has increased to 62%. It is very concerning. I'm quite sure there are women who make the choice not to register the father because she feels she's empowered, she doesn't want to have future problems. However, unfortunately, the opposite is true. We do need to work at men to become more responsible. And through interaction in the prisons and with convicted felons, it has become very obvious that about 91% of them say they either didn't have a positive role model as a father, they had an abusive parent at home, or the mum was a single parent and who now in the community looked like the cool guy, the drug dealer, the criminal guy, the guy who could afford a new car. So we as a South African society must really dig deep, and we must really start living that constitution that we fought so hard for. And we as women specifically really need to start reaching out to each other and embracing each other and empowering each other. Because you know what, that joke of your sister because she's angry at you when you were little, are you fat? You know, those innocent things, we need to start educating children what is acceptable and what is not. Because what is perceived innocent, and the bullying at school, what is perceived innocent today becomes a subconscious ball and chain. It is something that is sitting in the deep crevices of your mind that you're going to, if you don't deal with it, and if somebody doesn't teach you a positive self-esteem, that it's going to affect your life.
Francesca, may I just interject and ask Namfunda, do you perhaps have some suggestions as to how we can help that lonely woman that actually needs our help and we can't reach her? I would like for you to apply your mind and see whether...
I have a suggestion.
Fantastic, please share.
Sorry.
I thought I was next.
Okay, most of them can afford a 150 phone, right? A pep store and all that. So we should have a yes, a please call, so that sometimes a person can speak out to someone they don't know and what they want to say than people they know. You know, after you've spoken to someone you don't know, you feel relieved. Sometimes you just need to talk in the midst of your problems.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to just partly respond
And also
as well. And
the language as well, because some cannot speak English. They speak other languages. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Thank you for that. I think also I wanted to say there's this tendency of using big language, Mosne. We want to appear intelligent and all. So I come from a village. So I'm 42 years old. I'm that child that walked 10 kilometers to school. And I'm tall. I'm not a female average height. So my feet are long, and they would be long too quickly that my mother didn't afford to buy shoes regularly. I've got cons to show for it. Because I always wore shoes that were small and my feet would sit like this. And then I have to walk 10 kilometers. And the reason why I do this work, one of the reasons is that. And the reason why I'm saying, I now am catching myself that I use the word re-socialize and all these big words, right? But really what I mean is we have to rethink how we solve for our communities. Because how we've been solving is not hitting the sweet spot anyways. So by re-socializing, I mean, even that question, the first question should be, what am I doing to help those in my proximity whilst others are spreading out? So the question has to be within before it's external, isn't it? That's you rethinking the way you do things and show up. So yes, we can reach as much as we can, and we have to change the manner in which we show up. There's a question that says, we must support each other in the boardroom. And I go on and I challenge you and I say, until you learn to help each other from home, you won't be able to help each other in the boardroom. Right? So until that Makoti who's married to your brother, you look at her as one of you and treat her as such, with kindness, compassion, and love and forgiveness. There's just no ways that you're going to go into a boardroom and know how to treat her. So the same applies. If at home, because you come from a patriarchal background, the culture that says you mean nothing but as a woman, and you submit to that, and you allow the patriarchal tendencies to suppress you because you hide behind culture, it is difficult for you in the boardroom to stand up to a man, because the same figure that stands in the culture at home. So we therefore have to rethink and develop new norms and values of how we must interact with each other. But first, let's regroup self.
I would just like to add, when it comes to language, we go into rural areas where we train women. And the women we train, there's normally a leader. So we have representation in Eastern Cape. We have representation. We build communities in WIIN of representation. And that is why the 120 that we want to train next year, that we have the kind sponsorship for, is really women that will be active in rural, representing our norms and values, but that can train and assist other women in the rural communities. Thanks.
Thank you. My name is Precious Banda from the ANC Women's League Young Women's Desk. I'm its national convener. Firstly, I think it's important for us to really appreciate the opportunity to be here and to interact with other women in our diversity
getting to understand how other women want to pursue the very same struggles that we pursue in our different spaces. And it brings me to a point I want to make, to say, despite where we are located, where we are, we must always remember that the work that we do must carry with the most disadvantaged. That not at any particular time should our struggles, wherever we are, whether in the boardroom, in the political spaces, wherever we are, our struggles must not leave the most ordinary of the women out there, or else they will not yield any results. And that has been the main criticism of gender struggles, that they are elitist. Because us who are positioned in political spaces with our privilege of understanding power and so on, we speak gender for us, about our positioning. And those in business spaces speak gender about their positioning. But what about that domestic worker who has no platform? What about that street vendor with no platform? What about that rural woman with no platform? We must remember them and carry them with. The face of poverty remains a black woman. And any intervention into GBV that seeks to address the question of economy must speak about how we change the social positioning of a black woman. It must speak about how we improve the life of that woman in the villages, the life of that woman that is not in a classroom in the university like me, the life of that woman that works in the farms fruits and vegetables, but her kids are suffering from malnutrition because she cannot eat the food that she works. Those are the things that must conceptualize our struggles for women emancipation. The last point that I want to make is to say, to speak about the social positioning of a black woman wherever she's located is not to divide women, is to appreciate our realities and to appreciate the need for us to understand our own diversity and use it as a strength to carry everyone with. To speak about patriarchy and about how men benefit from patriarchy and they are born with it, elevating them above a girl child, is not to divide society between men and women. Is to appreciate the reality that girl children and women are put in the footprint and they fail to rise only because they are born like that. Now, it is not, therefore, in our business as and when we speak about the empowerment of a woman to always feel sorry and apologetic. Men must take responsibility themselves for killing us. Men must take, it's not us to say, okay, now that we're empowered, what do we do? What do we do with these men? They don't know how to handle us. I do not subscribe to such kind of politicking and thinking. Men must take responsibility for their benefit of patriarchy and the benefit of elevating them at my expense as a woman only because I'm a woman. It is their responsibility to be patient. It is their responsibility to learn also. So I want us as women, when we are speaking in our own spaces, to always know that we can't be sorry for being oppressed. We can't be sorry for suffering in the hands of men. We can't be sorry to say we have seen our fathers beat our mothers every day at night. We can't be sorry because women are dying in the hands of men. Women are dying and they're being killed by men. And we must say it as it is, that it is men who are killing us. It is women abuse. It is not gender. In fact, we are moving away from gender-based violence because in the main, the people that are dying are women and children. So it's women abuse, women dying in the hands of men. Men must rise up. Men must take responsibility and account for the things that they do to women. And that way, we are going to be assisting ourselves. Thank you very much.
Can I say something on that? I want to agree with you, my sister, that men are really doing it. But there must be a point where we start not pointing finger, but doing something about it. As a mother, I've got 2 sons that at the moment I must teach that a woman is a queen. So when they grow up understanding that woman is a queen. What happened in the past, it's time we move past it and try to build a new future with our kids and teaching them. Our mothers were not telling us what was going on. We were just seeing a fight coming from nowhere. And we didn't know that there's actually better life that we can teach our children. Today we understand better that we can actually build men who would respect women. Men who treat women as queens. So what is happening now, it's very painful. I speak as someone who's been through it for full 18 years. I've been in so many hospitals. I've got so many files in so many different hospitals. But I realized that until I stopped telling my son that your father is a dog, your father is this, then he will grow up knowing that, oh, being a man means you have to be a dog. I can actually teach him that women are not treated like this, my son. What your father is doing is very wrong. He needs help. So when he sees, at times he would come back from the university telling me that, Mom, I saw this guy, he was manhandling this woman, and I was asking myself, how can you do this? That man, they need help. So to him now, already he can see that it's a sickness that needs to be taken care of. So once you start teaching them in the house, then they grow up to be better. I believe in few years to come, we'll look back and say, women violence is no more there because of what we as women, as mothers, teach our sons today.
Good evening. Am I allowed to speak?
Oh, yeah, sure. Sorry.
Okay. Thank you, sister. With what our sister spoke about, it's a woman needs, each one of us have a breaking point, and we need to find that in ourselves. I myself held myself back for 27 years. I am now a wild warrior woman for 7 years. I'm divorced, I'm single, I'm independent, I'm living the life. So and I have 2 sons, 2 gorgeous sons, 21 and 31, yes. And believe me, there is violence after divorce as well. That ex-husband will manipulate you, but you rise above it. You don't join him, you rise above him. At times you just have to leave them, let them be. But you walk your road and just have the guts to step out of it and deal with whatever you need to. That's all I need to add. Thank you.
What I'm actually hearing is the fact that we need to find solutions to the source of the problem, because just fixing the symptoms is not going to actually help.
Thank you very much. Life coach. I used to think we don't need people like you. We need them in our lives. And we need people to show us correct pointers, and also people that are going to be able to say, there's something wrong with you. Slow down. But also the way we speak is very important. And most of the time, we want to be perfect as women. And always think men are perfect. Actually, it is women that have made most men look perfect. About meetings, you raise an issue, you speak, and when they summarize, they leave out your point. In the following meeting, they bring it up and it is said differently, presented differently. And you think, hey man, these people are very brilliant. Can't you? They took your points and went to the bar. Whilst you go home to look after your children. So we need such spaces. They are very important. But also the issue of men and women is about power relations. We've been through many stages to be where we are today. And now we are owned and we belong to some men. And therefore, what you said, I said to myself, my body as a part of the proletariat must help me to fight the man who is an oppressor, who gains out of my pain. Now, I think we have to talk about the real causes of violence against women and children. Yesterday, I went through, they said it was an essay. It's written by Rihanna. That piece is good. It was in the Maverick Citizen. And that made me rethink our path. She says, the settlers who arrived on the shores of the Cape in 1652 brought slaves, stripped of their humanity, and perpetrated a genocide against the indigenous communities that roamed the Cape. These inhumane crimes remain unpunished. The victims received no justice and probably will never. But one other area says, the people they regarded as vermin, who had no regard for fences and refused to be enslaved, were lined up in rows. An award was given to one settler who, with one bullet, killed the most Khoisan. So our history is important. And if we do not want to go back and know and understand who we are, we're not going to be able to reach some of the goals we've set for ourselves. Now, there is this man that is shooting you, and you are running away every day. You live for the next day, you don't live for the future. And then there comes us saying, hey, you must work hard. When your future was destroyed and you never thought about the future. And I think that's some of the things that are always pushing us back. Gangsters in Cape Town never just came out of the blue. The guns were all over. And people had access to them. They could buy them. People were paid through a tot. And we all know that you start with alcohol and you move there. There are women today that are looking after disabled children. So I don't want to talk a lot about that, but also Who is driving the economy?
White people
Yes,
in South Africa?
yes, in South Africa. It's driven by white people, but also in the main areas where we expect there should be change, there is lip service. The judiciary and the cases of women, widows that have stopped going to the office of the, but the people that deal with cases, yes, state attorney, they deal with the estate, yes, thank you very much. Women are no longer going there, but also they are paid tax. They are paid pensions of their husbands. After a long time, they are taxed. Others have stopped working, and their children are insulting them because they think their mothers ate their father's monies with boyfriends.
It's true.
So we need to try and turn around the situation. If we want to think on the basis of what is in front of us, we will never move forward. I would want to move forward, but every day we ask ourselves questions. And as long as we are not able to answer those questions, we're not going to change the quality of lives of our people. Violence against women and children, the willpower. You know, you're supposed to come with a positive willpower. It is those that are holding high positions. The MEC spoke about the fight that we are always in political organizations. Fighting, they take all the premiers, we say, take them, we want 60-40. And then Gauteng comes with 50-50. And they think with the councillors who are still going to go back and fight again. We're not going to fight. If they give a mayor, 60-40. So also women, we can be hypocrites. And we don't want to move forward. When one woman makes a mistake, every day you are reminded of that mistake. But when men are involved in the issues of the abuse of women, we protect them. And we behave as if we are blind. We know about people that have done all sorts of things, and we keep quiet because we want to be in power, rub shoulders, and we leave people speak down on us. Talk about violence against women when they don't want to accept that they themselves abuse women. And as women in politics, those are the areas where we need your assistance. That is where we need you to come, coach, and say, hey, you were not correct here. Go out to the nation, apologize, and this is how you should move forward, because on a daily basis we stay with these people that are supposed to empower women when they have not changed. I agree with Precious. Men must also show interest. Thank you.
Wow. So I think I'd like to just respond just quickly to that. I'd like to be a life coach, by the way. So I think there's a number of things, but I probably will only respond to a few. So when we speak of socialization, most we speak of how we were groomed and it when we were still younger. Pardon me, I think my English data is about to expire. So you can hear I'm putting some Xhosa words in between. So we speak of perfectionism and wanting to seem perfect and wanting to look that way. And one of the institutions that instilled that in us is the church. We went to church and we were told you are holy. And then we closed our eyes, we looked in the sky and we pretended to be holy for a very long time. And that was not entirely true. And it's so untrue. We have good thoughts, we have bad thoughts. We have good emotions, we have bad emotions. We are wired that way from creation. That's just how we're wired already. And the magic is in understanding how to combine these two things to produce something magnificent. Because they both exist for a reason. So I think we have to, as women, to just drop this facade of trying to look like something we're not. And we're going to struggle until we rediscover who we are. The reason why we have to rediscover is because if I were to ask, or sometimes when I ask people, who are you? They'll tell me I'm a manager, I'm a politician leader, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a sister. I didn't ask about your roles. So what makes you a mother is having a child, God takes away the child. What makes you a wife is a husband, he takes away the husband. What makes you a manager is the organization, is a job, takes away, you get retrenched. Who's standing there? Who's the being? Until we reconnect to that human being that was created for a purpose. We constantly think the power is outside, the power is within. The answers are within, but we need to go back to the core of who we are so that we can understand how powerful we are. And especially as women, whomever created us co-creates with us. Do you understand that? Through the womb, the creator creates with us. But when it comes to the boardroom, we step back, we don't understand how powerful we are in terms of co-creation. For we are left behind because we are busy acting smart and perfect. We're supposed to be there and co-creating. We are the co-creators. So the most important thing is for us to come back to the core. Who are we?
I love that.
1, 2. I hate to come with bad news, but because of time, I would like us all to be out of here by 6 o'clock because that's when the event ends. So I think after you've spoken, we can have a last round. I've noted 3 ladies. So thank you.
Okay, I just want to suggest one thing because I think a lot of talking is wonderful, but I also think action is really important. And so I want to give you a simple exercise because here's where change happens. It doesn't happen in the big moments. It happens in the habits, in the micro moments. Every single time we have a choice, we're faced with something interesting. So I want to present that to you, and you have to play. By playing, I want you to put both hands up. I can't do it because I have a mic. Your left hand represents the past. So I want you to feel the weight. Because the past doesn't go by, time doesn't go by, it accumulates. So this is passivity, like gravity, but the past, passivity. And it's important. It informs us. But it's done. It's not creative anymore. The other hand, this one represents possibility. What we would love. And it's equally powerful and important to passivity. So the exercise for you is in every micro moment when you are faced with any choice. Do I smile or don't smile? Am I kind or am I not? I want you to think of your hands. Where is my power? In the past or in possibility?
Cool. Thanks. My name is Palo from the Young Women's Desk of the ANC Women's League. I'll give a bit of context quickly and then move into my points. But during apartheid, there was a time when black men and women were together, united against a bigger sort of enemy, right? And as soon as liberation came, black women were left out of sort of the rewards of that, right? And whenever I sit in dialogues that are for women, so firstly, I'm a queer woman, and whenever I sit in dialogues like this, the language and the characterization of what a woman is always very heteronormative, right? So it only applies to straight women. And so we're getting to a point where women will be united against sort of gender-based violence, patriarchy as a whole, and when we achieve that, the people who will be left behind, just like black women were left behind, are queer women, right? So my activism lies in ensuring that we're never left out of conversations like this, right? So I'll make an example with the slideshow was shown, right? Firstly, I have a problem with putting the value of women to an economic sort of value. That's weird. I don't think we need to sort of stamp why we need to remove gender-based violence on an economic term. I think it should just be because it's wrong and that's it, right? But even if I accept that, when I move into the slideshow, it spoke about losing children that will be born of women, right? So the woman who dies as a result of gender-based violence, she's a bigger loss because she had the potential to carry children, right? Now, when you speak of a queer woman, she's most likely not to have children, right? She's in a homosexual relationship. Does that mean then that that woman is less important? So when the kind of woman that we're speaking of in this sort of dialogue is a woman who's going to have a husband, she's going to carry children, and that excludes a huge chunk of women in this country, right? So I want us to be careful about when we speak about gender and gender-based violence, what does that mean, right? Look, so a lot of the examples that were used were about like men in nuclear families, right? And that's not the reality for everyone. So I want organizations like WIIN to speak about when we go into villages and we speak about what we're telling people in villages, and we're speaking about all these ways on how to prevent gender-based violence, are we speaking about how we've been socialized? Because a lot of these problems, there's a back and forth about the role of men and if men must be accountable, if men must be included. And I always say that the big issue here is patriarchy as a whole, right? And this system informs how we view everyone, and this system tells us what a woman should look like. And so, which is why some women are actually against sort of the struggles we're trying to move to, right? Because it's a whole socialization. And I think if we're going to have dialogues like this, at a high level like this, where we're not having deeper conversations about what a woman is, how do we socialize society to see different values of a different type of woman, I think we're not going to get very far. And I want to caution that this organization is not for queer women in its language. It's not even for poor women, right? So I think if we're speaking about an app, we're very advanced. Right? An app is something we can do in 10 years' time, because the majority of women in this country can't have an app. So when an organization, as one of their benchmark sort of projects, is an app, it shows you what type of woman that organization is sort of catering to, right? And also, what does it mean for that organization to have a face that is a white woman, right? In a majority country of black women, right? So when that organization goes to villages, what is the socialization and what is the understanding of the cultural makeup of black homes, right? So for me, I have a problem in how we're approaching all of these things, and I think we're not going to get very far if we aren't honest about what they should look like and what that messaging should entail. Sure, thanks.
I think your points are actually valid, and if it did come across that way, I don't think it's the intent. But I'm so great that you put it on the table for actual consideration, and when we go into our little committees, we drive that point. So thank you so much for that.
I would like to
just to add on that, because of socialization, I don't think a lot of people know what a queer woman is. I recently just found out what it is. So if you mind just explaining to everyone so we're all on the same page.
I'm just not attracted to men, that's all. There's just that. But but to put it more, right? So queer sort of describes an umbrella term of anyone who doesn't identify as what society would ordinarily say is normal. So, for example, when you're born female, it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be a woman. When you're born male, it doesn't automatically mean that you'll be a man, right? There are female-born people who identify as men, and those become transgender men, right? So there are women who have penises. So even when we speak about being a woman, and we speak about periods and about giving birth, you're leaving out a whole sector of women who are born with penises, but they're women. And I think part of these things should be inclusive conversation about those things, or else queer women will be left out, and then we'll have a second-tier struggle where you've let a whole bunch of women out, which is what happened now with black women being left out of the gains of defeating apartheid. Sure.
Thank you for that.
I would like to address some of that. First of all, the definition of women is women in all their diversity. So when you look at a Department of Justice, when we talk about women, we speak of women in all the diversity. It includes the LGBTI communities. Secondly, you represent the organization, which was one of the 3 organizations that actually nominated me, my white face, to be the national champion for women. So you don't know me, I don't know you, and we leave it at that.
I think it's, sorry if I may just interject, I think it's very important that we all be given an opportunity to, oh, what's actually happening?
Guys, wait, I think so. Let's not dialogue it.
Yeah. I think the point I want to make is we're here to have a dialogue, and it's important for us to express our views and not take offense to anything said.
I'm not offended. I'm just saying.
Okay. Can I suggest that we move on from this point, because we didn't get to the crux of the matter. The matter is gender-based violence. After 16 days of activism that started in 1998, we still haven't moved forward. So what are the solutions? The legislation is not helping. We have fragmented. We have a lot of people doing great work, right? There's no doubt about it. There's shelters. There's people that can actually help. But the reality is, it hasn't changed the benchmark. So what do we need to, can we move to that aspect, please, so we can get this conversation going? Because I don't want to stand here next year.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Having the same conversation and we haven't made a difference.
Thank you.
Sorry,
my name
guys.
is Leah.
Ladies and gentlemen, can we give each other a chance
Yeah,
to
can we
speak?
please respect each other and make sure that when a person's speaking, we don't speak on top of each other. Because of time, we've noted 3 people, and if you want to continue the conversation, you can do so with the person you want to speak to afterwards.
Can I just make one point? We're all here with collective minds to make a difference. Please don't walk out because your individuality has been attacked. Please don't. Let's move this conversation positively.
Thank you very much. My name is Leah. I am from Pretoria, and I am here because I was invited by my dear friend Basa. And I take this moment as a privilege, and I don't take it for granted. I am a grounded woman and framed by the word of God, and I don't compromise that at all. We have had brilliant talks, from the panel, and we've got powerful energy, mindset, from the panel. And I was challenged to ask myself this question: what am I doing? My challenge is going to be basically to the church, because my sister, I love what you are doing. The renewing of the mind. That's our problem. Not only as a nation, but as the world. And until we understand and we conquer that problem of the mindset, because it is from the beginning with the fall of the first man or the first Adam. Because what he did there at the Garden of Eden, the mind
was polluted. So now, you and I were born now with that fallen nature. So now the church needs to take its place and teach the renewing of the mind. So the church has taken a step back. It's running after miracles and prophecies and leaving out the critical point. We need teachers, real teachers of the word, that will help us to walk in the divine nature. The first creation that we have been created to function like our creator, but the fall affected all of us. So now we are subject to that old mindset of the fallen man. And that is why we cannot leave men and boys behind. We need to work this thing together. And we need to teach. So today, I am making a vow to say that I'm going to join WIIN because I cannot sit back in my corner and complain. And I want to challenge the church that we need to start producing teachers of the word that will teach, because the Bible talks about the renewing of the mind. Salvation is not about a miracle. It's not about faith. It's about the renewing of the mind. When it says that we have been created in the new creation and we've been created in Christ, it talks about the mind. It doesn't talk about a denomination. It doesn't talk about color. It doesn't talk about gender. It talks about mankind going back to the master plan of God. When God created Adam and Eve, he saw it as one. So that's where we need to start, with the renewing of the mind. So once we get that sorted, then our society and social issues that we are facing will be able to be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just would like to, sorry Sissy, I just want to ask from the Forward Lodge, because of time, unfortunately we can't go through everyone. So I just want to ask, can we take 10 minutes to extend, or should we just cut? Because we've got one more item on the program and then we need to be done by 6 o'clock. So 10 minutes. Yes, no? Okay.
So can you see how difficult it is to shift the way in which you think? Everything starts with a thought, it becomes an emotion, and then it ends up being behavior. If you can't catch that thought level, you might lose it at emotions. You're gone at behavior. And the reason why I'm saying this is, it's okay for us to have differing views. It is in the midst of a differing view that an overarching solution will come. But if you're not willing to over, how are you going to get out something that is impeccable, that can be a solution for all of us, right? But it has to start with your own thinking about your own self first, and understanding what is triggering you. What triggers you often has less to do with the other, but about you. So we have to start here. We have no choice. And to socialize, see, 1956 women were fed up with the laws, isn't it, of the time? They were just hurtful, had enough of having enough. And my question to us is, what are we enough? If yes, of what? Of what? I had had enough of not knowing me, Mna. I had had enough of being defined by someone else's perspective of me. And therefore I went through a journey of discovering me. And embedded in me was my purpose as to why I'm on earth. It became much more clearer. Does it make sense? Until you connect to the core, which is who you are, you don't know why you're here. You're going to fluke it. And in your fluking, you hurt yourself and others. So can you see? Once there was a differing view, we got uncomfortable. In a boardroom, it's the same setting. Conversations about different ideas until they converge as a solution. It starts here. I think the last one, I'm going to be, I don't know. Okay, bye.
Hi, my name is Bala Sadita. I work at Business and Arts South Africa as a researcher. So basically what I'm going to say is going to be short and sweet, but it's going to be a reflection of history. So one thing I'd like to do is just thank Francesca for addressing that violence is unnatural and highlighting the fact that even animals don't violate their female counterparts. But on that note, it's also important to reflect on the fact that colonialism played a huge role in societal structures that advocate for the oppression and abuse of women and young children. On that note, when we look back at history, especially during colonialist times, both men and women were raped by their oppressors. Whether they were being sold or they were being employed, there was a process where sometimes men would have to strip naked, just like animals, and have their private parts assessed as if they were animals. The same thing happened to women. The problem, though, is that because of society, right, and societal structures still dictate the way that society runs to this day and age, educational systems still in a sense, perpetuate the idea that men, and mostly men of color, should be treated as animals. And if you're going to raise a child from an age of 2 to 6 to 16 to 18 and make them believe that they are a villain, that they are violent, that they are unaccepted in society, then it's only natural that the outcome is that they become violent, or that they become rebellious to the society that tells them that they are no longer accepted. And it's sad because now, even as women, we're constantly being told that don't take the time to listen to this man and find out what is upsetting him. Even as a mother, you tell your son, you know what, be strong, little boys don't cry. In society, they go to school, they get bullied by other men, they come home, they come and speak to the man in the family, and they're told, you man up, you deal with the issue, you figure out the solution. So unfortunately, it is actually problematic for us as a society to look at young black boys or men and say that, you know what, they are the problem for themselves and the households that raise them are the problem as well. In fact, it is society. It is also society. So.
Thank you. Charmaine, you mentioned solutions, right? So as you said that, I'm looking at the panel, right? So what is the solution, right? Because we're discussing here maybe at high level. The solution, as she stated, Deboho, between the four walls, the psych between, you know, the psych as to why men, because we cannot exclude men, because we live in a community and society that is made of men. So what is the psych? What makes those men? Do you understand? And we are all here. We are sisters, we're mother-in-laws, we're sister-in-laws. Each of us, I don't know how many we are, what role are we playing, you know, for our generations to come? If you know you are that mother-in-law, today is a day to walk out there and think and rethink. If you know you're that sister-in-law, if you know you're that brother, or whatever role you play in the family, today is that day where you are like, I have played a part within the four walls. So you have to rethink, which goes to our life coach, what she had said. And then what Saida had said, which all comes back together, is that it all starts with self. You know, so I'm looking at the panelists there, and I'm like, you know, we have the solutions from each and every one of them. And then what do we do then? We use the vehicle, which is WIIN, on the bigger scale of things. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I think saying that, the other thing is to forgive. As a nation, every time when I hear about gender-based, it always has history as a foundation. I think as human beings, we first need to forgive. Unless you forgive, you cannot rediscover yourself. You can never start a new foundation. So we just need to sit. I know it's still frustrating for the fact that we have been ruled by whites, and even today they're still ruining the finances. And you look at it and we say we've got freedom when we don't have anything at all. And we still say, men, we are in charge, women, we are in charge. But when you look at it, there are those men in CEO positions. They're just making us as pawns in the boardrooms. But for us to act, we need to forgive them. Once you forgive a person, you've got the freedom. Once you have the freedom, you go back to your table, you start a new drawing. You look how you can fix the society. And once you fix yourself, you'll be able to impact on the society. So I guess as a black nation, we need to forgive. We are hurt. And we are still hurting. And the hurt will never stop until we decide that we are stopping it now.
Yeah, I
That's
think that's
actually quite a powerful statement,
Yes,
actually.
yes.
Because you have to forgive to be able to move forward. And if you don't believe you're a part of the solution and you can effect that change, we're not going to make that difference.
Exactly.
And I know we all have been subjected to pain, whether it was from a race perspective, from a man perspective, from a life perspective. But we need to move forward. And we must prevent trying to create a divide. Forgiveness helps us live together and move together and change this world.
Absolutely. I think it's a very important question. I must answer. She's asking how. So what are we going to do about it? So we know all what that we know. How are we going to help each other, right? And I keep talking about recalibrating, rewiring your mind. How does that work? So one of the things that we do using psychological frameworks and methodologies is to coach you. We can coach you one-on-one. We can coach you in groups. But I tell you today, I'm a child of emotional abuse, but there's no anger that visits me daily anymore because I know how to rewire the way I think. And I know how to teach you to do that. So there's number, and we are partners to WIIN as well, so you can access us through her. But there's ways for us to heal, to forgive, and start afresh again.
May I speak? I've been trying to put in a word, I think, for the past hour. So I would like to say as well that we as women, we must take the power in our hands. Take the power in our hands, similar to what the Israelite women did. What they did not kill the Israelite children. So what we should be doing as well as women, we must socialize our boys now. I think it's high time we take that power. And I'd like to put a suggestion to WIIN to say, please find a way of having this in the national agenda, how we can socialize the boy child. It's no longer the girl child now. It is the boy child, so that they change their mind, they can be friendly and respect women. Thank you.
I would like to come back to someone raised a rural community area issue.
She's still talking.
When it comes to economy, everybody counts and everybody matters. We have a program within our organization which I think we can duplicate, can be duplicated in South Africa or where it's what we do, we have localization campaign and awareness campaign. What we do, we go deep down in rural communities. We gather unemployed young ladies. We listen to them. From there comes the awareness campaign. to show them that the current situation is not their final destination, that they are able, they have ability. All what they need is opportunities. Then, what we do, we prioritize. We cannot empower everybody at the same time, but we know that if you support 1, 2, or 3, you are sure that 2, 3 will get a job. And that is what we are doing now. And I think that it's really a program that can work everywhere. Thank you.
I would just like to add to that, WIIN was created for women. It wasn't created for suburban women. The fact that we focused on designing the app is because of the mortality rate, the femicide of South Africa. So if it assists us to eliminate some deaths, then be so. I'm very proud to say that WIIN's app saved 2 lives this year, for certain. And WIIN is about engaging women like the women in this panel. It is like engaging a woman like Sandra, like Nisha, like men, like our esteemed women in our organizations. It is carrying the values of where we want to take South Africa. It is not for anyone, it's not excluding any women. And I thought that was clear. We don't even want to exclude men who are willing to work for the empowerment of women. And the exercise that we did today is to show that if we can, as a South African community, as women, create ways to reduce gender-based violence, that there is all these external cost factors of the circumstances that gender-based violence produce that can be returned into the economy and actually grow the economy. So please, WIIN is exactly what it said it is. It is a women-integrated or integral impact network, and that is what we want to do. We do not go everywhere and recreate new WIIN-based offices. We go to Nongoma and we work with the local NGOs. We go to Eastern Cape Mthatha and we work with the local NGOs. We empower existing NGOs, faith-based organizations, or women on their own to assist us to empower other women. That is how it was found. That is our intention, and that is how we would like to carry it. Thank you.
Thank you for that. There's a question from a male, and I really need to get that.
Thank you. My name is Umpo. It's not really a question, but maybe a comment, and I'm privileged to contaminate this space. So, I'm a social worker from Alexander working for an organization called ADAPT. What I do, I render counseling for perpetrators of intimate partner violence in Royco prison and in the office that is situated in Alexander. Thank you. But to cut it short, I think the approach that the lady is talking about, it's about the self. It's about men, and not only saying men, but we're saying men as the people who are holding back the benefit of patriarchy, or who don't want to acknowledge the repercussions of the system that it has deprived us to be emotional, it has taught us to be entitled, it has taught us to be intimidated by powerful women, to suffer, to have inferiority complex, to say, I'm gonna rape her to bring her down. I'm gonna marry her so she would submit to certain things that are wrong, you know. So it's about men changing mindset, overhauling, unpack the whole thing and repack it again. it's where it is. It starts with the self. To change mindset, to acknowledge things that we've done and they were wrong, and also acknowledge that we have benefited from the system, and we need to throw it away. And most of it all, talk about human rights. Maybe move away from, because when I talk about gender specifically, or men, we're also talking to men who perpetuate hate crimes, men who hate other men because they are gays. So we're talking about that stagnant man in the system, that man who doesn't want to move with my lady has said, with the current women of today, that man who cannot propose a woman. The lady who's the MC here spoke about the car that he has identified. Go buy that G-Wagon, my lady. You know why? We need men who can not be intimidated by successful women, who can have rational and conversation with them and accept what they have and what they have accumulated and not feel intimidated. So we're talking to that man. We're talking to that young boy who also, we're trying to get him away from growing up with a sense of entitlement and growing up with seeing women as subject of sexual gratification or whatsoever. We're talking to men who say, I'm entitled to have sex with my woman. And I'm also glad the lady talked about the church, because they like the conjugal part of things in the Bible. So we're saying to a man, you cannot control your libido. It's about the self. It's about you. If the woman don't want to do it, can you not read a book? I mean, we're talking to that man. We are talking to that man, about that man. So psychology tells about the locus of control, and internal and external. You cannot control yourself. We want to talk to that man who hates somebody because they're a lesbian, who want to keep the system going and benefiting them. Thank you.
That's actually quite a...
Thank you so much. Because of time, can we please have the last question, and then we can do the closing. Thank you. Were you going to say something, Charmaine?
No, I'm good for you to handle it. Yeah, thanks.
Sure.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I say thank you to WIIN for inviting us here today. But I personally think that there's a lot of healing that needs to take place. And we have to understand that we're diverse culturally, religiously, and socially, you know. So once we understand that, then we can move forward and not be so self-righteous on what is supposed to be and what is not supposed to be. And I think the responsibility upon women is very great, you know, because we are the naturers of humanity, you know, of society, of everything that's taking place, you know. So once we can warm up to one another and be really sister-like, you know, without having any other tactics that might not be necessarily relevant at this point, you know, then we can move forward.
Thank you very much. And on the forgiveness part, I also relate, and I'm so glad that you raised it, Sisi, because with what I had shared earlier on, I used to have great animosity towards my father. Went to counseling for a very long time, from primary right through to high school. And it came to a point in my life where I realized that I'm getting older. I can't live with this anger. And one day I'm going to be a wife, a lovely wife, and I'm going to be a mother. And I can't create my own household with this anger. And so recently I had forgiven my father, and it's the most liberating feeling ever. And you take that power away from them, because that person, like, he's not there. He's living his life. And I remember in high school, my mother used to travel a lot, and she missed her flight. We were in East London. I'm from Eastern Cape. And I had to go fetch my brother. Now there's the main road where I was going to fetch my little brother at high school. And so I saw him. He was crossing a road. I am not kidding. It was this close. I accelerated. And I think it was about a year after that incident that made me realize that this is not healthy. So one of the most important things that we need to take away from today is that let's forgive these people. Let's take the power away from them and own our scars. And you know, I think it's Japanese or Chinese, when a bowl is broken, Japanese, ne? They do this beautiful artistry where the cracks, they fill it with gold. Let's fill our cracks with gold. Let me not preach. Just for the closing, I'd like to call the beautiful, the vivacious, the lady in red. Ladies and gentlemen, can we please clap for her? Usizandile Mahom.
And that's a real sigh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Zandile Mahamno. This is a very heavy topic. GBV is the most pervasive form of human rights violation, and it affects us whether directly or indirectly. We're all affected. And as a result, our country is affected. Therefore, it's hard for me to look around now and try and find these amazing, great things and positive things and all of that. But what I want to say is gratitude. There's something about gratitude. And I like the quote that feeling gratitude and not expressing it is like wrapping a present and not giving it. And today, the organizers of this event are grateful to every one of you who have come here today to have this dialogue. Without this dialogue, none of these things and these solutions that have been put forward by our panelists would be implemented, or we would not even know about them. So I'm standing here giving a vote of thanks because I'm sure everybody in the room is grateful that something is being done about this scourge in South Africa. We have heard wise words from Mayor Batabile Dlamini. We have listened to Dr. Sadeh. We have listened to Francesca. We have listened to Tebogo telling us about her deep personal experience. We have listened to Mpho, who's doing something with the males in the country. We have right here Directors Association Munya, who is actively working towards making sure that there's at least a 40% representation of women in the boardroom. Everybody in this room is committed to making a difference, and that's something to be grateful for. And this is something that we would like to thank each and everyone for. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your insights. Thank you. But most importantly, everybody that has stood up and commented or asked a question, thank you for placing yourself at a place of vulnerability. Thank you for exposing yourself and coming out of that shell, because it's only through those things that interventions start becoming effective. And organizers would also like to acknowledge the Global Investment Reporting for getting involved and ensuring that there are actual statistics that can be used in the fight against gender-based violence. Ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy your evening, and thank you so much for your time.
Hi, I would just like to indulge you a little bit more. Zandile, you're supposed to do it. We just want to give each of the panelists a little gesture of thank you. I'm handing back to you.
Okay. Zianda, thank you so much from WIIN. Great, Doctor, thank you so much. I'd like to thank you, Dr. Sadia, for your time.